Your Honor, in working with Mr. Smith during the pendency of this case, I have learned that he is polite, respectful. He's always been cooperative with me. He's never tried to hide things from me. He's been open about what occurred that day with me, and you know, he is a sweet kid, and he is still a kid, Your Honor. He's very young. He doesn't have any serious previous criminal history. He has a very loving and supportive family. As you see, many of them are here today. His mom lives in North Carolina. I know her letter was attached to my sentencing memorandum. She has driven here for every court date to be here to support him. They have indicated to me that when Mr. Smith is ultimately released, he will leave Ohio and go live with her and get out of this area around and away from the influences that led him to be here before you today. He did make a bad decision that day. He went along with this plan. He knew better. He certainly knows better. He did not act better, though. He made a very poor choice, and you know, the people that he did this with were not long-term friends of his. He hadn't been hanging out with them for more than just a few months, and then he found himself in this situation. When I have spoken with his dad about this incident, his dad is consistently disappointed, and that indicates to me that this is really not what Joseph. This is not the person that Joseph is. This is not the behavior that he has previously engaged in. This is a isolated incident, Your Honor, and he was influenced by these other people, one of which does have a significant criminal history. The co-defendant, one of the co-defendants, has not been sentenced. The other co-defendant, the driver, who is certainly more culpable than Mr. Smith, received a 9-year prison term, and he pled to an additional charge due to him being the driver and taking the police on a police chase that went through multiple cities. So, Your Honor, I would ask you to take those things into account. I would ask you to sentence him to the 6-year prison term in this matter. I know he is going to speak to you, but his father is also going to say a few words.
All right.
If that's okay with the court.
You tell me what order you want to go in.
Well, if his father could speak, and then Mr. Smith himself.
Okay. Just tell me your name and whatever it is you want me to know.
James Tipton. Joseph is my sons. I got all my other sons with me and my daughter. I'm just really disappointed in his decisions, but he just recently moved on the side of town with me, and he didn't have no friends, and he just clicked up with the wrong friends. But Joseph is a good kid. He was an honor student. He had all his junior high and high school. He was in gifted classes. He works with me in my business. He just made poor decisions.
All right, thank you. Mr. Smith, what do you want to tell me before I impose sentence?
Judge O'Donnell, I understand the decisions I made were poor and very dead wrong to the witnesses who the incident occurred on. I ask you under consideration to give me the minimum prison sentence that I pled guilty to, and I'll never make those decisions again ever in the future. And when I get out of prison, I look forward to taking over my father's business and making better decisions in life, and never coming back in this courtroom.
All right, so take me through the day this happened. How you got involved with this?
I got involved with this incident, going to get food with my friends, and on the way to get food, I was advised that we were going to pick up a watch, and I was high off marijuana, and I was kind of woozy, leaning, going to sleep. Then, as we got to the watch, to get the watch, I realized what was going on. I got out the car, refused everything I would say, made bad decisions as well.
Why were you, if you were going to get food with these two characters, why did you have your gun with you?
The gun that I had was not mine.
Where'd you get it?
It was in the car.
It was in the car where?
In the back seat.
And so it was in the car in the back seat. What'd you do with it?
I just picked it up.
Picked it up, put it in your waistband? Why'd you do that?
There were plenty of guns brandished I feel unsafe.
Well, when did you pick it up and put it in your waistband?
After I realized what was going on outside of the car.
Okay. How long did you know dinero and currency?
I've known dinero and currency for a few months.
Okay. What did you know about currency?
I didn't know too much about currency.
You know now that he's done this before, right?
Now that you're telling me that, yes.
Now, this is the first you know that he's done that before?
Yes, sir.
He's robbed somebody at gunpoint before? You didn't know that?
No, sir.
Okay. Why, back in 23, you had a juvenile court felony for receiving stolen property, right?
Yes, sir.
What was that all about?
I was with the wrong group of friends again, making bad decisions. But it also,
Well, you may have been, but what was the offense all about?
excuse me,
What did you do?
I was in the passenger seat of a stolen car with people I went to school with.
All right, so that had been the first time you gotten in trouble, right?
Yes, sir.
What was the penalty for that?
Unactive probation, I believe. It was no probation. Like I didn't have to report or anything.
Okay, so there was really no penalty for that.
Yes, sir.
So what influence did that case, the last time you were in court on that was June 29th of 23. What impact did that have on your life after that day?
That incident impacted me to make better decisions in life.
All right, didn't work though, right? You're hanging out with these two knuckleheads.
I mean, yeah, but I was unaware that they were knuckleheads, sir.
Well, the guy that was in the back seat with you, how did you know him?
That's my cousin.
All right. And how long had your cousin known dinero and currency?
For the same time as me, a few months.
Okay, what's going on over at the jail with you?
At the jail, I tend to play a lot of cards, make my days go by faster, but I've also been into a couple altercations with people in the
Why?
jail. You said why?
Yeah.
I mind my business a lot, but I tend to get in a couple arguments over cards, and then it just elevates from there. The past altercations I've been in have elevated from card games.
Okay. Anything else you want to say?
No, sir.
All right, have a seat. Ms. Himmeline?
Thank you, Your Honor. The state would note that in the sentencing memorandum that the defense files, the defense argues that no one was physically harmed in this case, that the defendant was not the principal offender, and that his conduct was not the worst form of the offense of aggravated robbery. But the absence of physical injury does not minimize the gravity of the violent conduct that occurred in this case. The defendant and his co-defendants robbed these victims at gunpoint, wearing ski masks and yelling at them to give them everything they had. One of his co-defendants took Jonathan Hernandez's watch at gunpoint, and one of his co-defendants stole Enrique Hernandez's firearm while he was face down on the ground with a gun to the back of his head. Aggravated robbery is inherently dangerous. It's designed to threaten and intimidate a victim and strips them of their sense of safety. And the victims in this case, they suffered harm that no one can see. They were scared and they were traumatized, and their lives are forever changed as a result. Fear is the harm in this case, and it is just as serious as the physical harm that could have resulted. Additionally, the state notes that the court must consider accountability, but the defendant in this case continues to minimize his conduct and his role in this offense and lacks that accountability. The state does trust the court to fashion an appropriate prison sentence in this case and just ask that the court do so. Thank you.
What were you doing with a ski mask?
What was I doing with the ski mask?
Yeah.
I was wearing it on my head.
I know why.
I casually wear it sometimes.
What?
I casually wear it sometimes, just on my head.
In the summertime?
Keep my hair from out of my face.
You want me to believe that?
Yes.
I don't believe that.
That's the
So when
truth.
when you called up these two guys to go get some food, you brought your ski mask with you?
I already had it on.
You had it on at home?
Yes.
You were wearing it at home?
Yes.
You were wearing it over your face?
I wasn't wearing it over my face.
Where were you wearing it?
Just on my head.
On your head?
Your Honor, it might have been the kind of ski mask that's like, leaves your face open, it goes over your whole head.
Okay. All right, I've reviewed the pre-sentence report and the psychological evaluation, the victim impact statement. I've read the memorandum I received from Ms. Hibbard with the attachments in support of Mr. Smith. I've considered the provisions of 29, 29, 11, 12, and 13. Logan, De Niro Logan, was sentenced recently in another court and was given a sentence on the ag robbery of 3 years to 4.5 years with a firearm specification of 3 years, and 3 years on the grand theft of the firearm. Between that and the failure to comply, he was given 3 years. It was consecutive to the F1. Fitzgerald, to my knowledge, hasn't been sentenced yet. So clearly, as these facts are laid out in the PSR and by counsel and by Mr. Smith, but to a lesser degree by Mr. Smith, and I've also considered, his name escapes me, that was in the back seat also, Mr. Smith's cousin, considered what he said in the interviews with the police. Clearly there's a hierarchy of practical culpability, although they're all culpable in the same way legally, but as a practical matter, these brothers, Fitzgerald and Logan, seem to be the driver of this train, and for whatever reason, for the second time in your young life, you went along with whatever the hell was going on, okay, and now it's going to cost you severely. But there is clearly a hierarchy of practical responsibility for this, which is, as I said, doesn't alleviate you from the legal responsibility for this. So after considering everything on the aggravated robbery count 1, I'm going to sentence you to a definite minimum of 3 years up to an indefinite maximum of 4.5 years. Whether you serve any time beyond that definite minimum is based upon the criteria of the Department of Corrections and your activity within the institution. There's a rebuttable presumption that you should be allowed out after the definite 3 years. There is I'm going to sentence you to 3 years on the firearm specification, which is mandatory and which will be consecutive, prior to and consecutive to the sentence on the aggravated robbery. There's credit for 172 days and the costs are imposed. When you get out, you will be placed on post-release control under the parole authority for 2 years up to 5 years. There will be conditions placed upon you. If you violate the conditions, the parole authority could return you to prison for up to 9 months for each violation, up to 1/2 of my sentence. If your violation is a new felony, then you could get an additional consecutive prison sentence for the violation, the maximum of which will be the greater of 12 months or the time you have left under post-release control. Remaining charges are dismissed. Is there anything else, Ms. Himmeline?
No, Your Honor.
No, thank you, Your
Ms.
Honor.
Hibbard, nothing else? Mr. Smith?
Sir.
You're going to do an unpleasant stretch in prison. That's the extreme bad news that you're facing here. The good news is when you get out, you're going to be plenty young, so you can determine what you want to do with your life, if you want to continue to live it like these other guys are and like you have, or whether you want to do something different and follow the lead of the people in your life that conduct themselves responsibly.